Now, continue on the last video we spoke about of the Bantu being Asians, Chinese being Africans, Lebanese, Turkish people being African people, and the Bantu being Asian people, the Yoruba, the Igbo being the outsiders in Africa, even though presently we are all known as Africans, but truthfully, we're not Africans. Now, look at this. If we were to put things into perspective to say, let's balance it according to scripture, which families are which families and who belongs to who? As Bantu people, as the Bantu people, I don't know who separated the Yoruba and the Igbo from the Bantu to say they're different. I don't know who did that, because in my understanding, these people are all the same people. Remember the 12 tribes of Israel? There are 12 of them, right? And 12 of those, 2 of those tribes, they come from outside. They are children of Joseph, who ruled and lived in Egypt and married an Egyptian woman and had 2 sons there in Egypt, Ephraim and Manasseh, right? Those children, we must account for them. We must account for Manasseh and know who are the children of Manasseh, which nation, because eventually there will be nations that come from that particular person, right? So if we're to check our families and know, okay, which people then should we gather with? If we say, okay, let's gather as families, which people do we gather with as Bantu people, who are the Israelites? We are going to gather with the Syrians, people of Syria. We are going to gather with Indians, the people that we say they are Indians. Those are our brothers. If we're to gather as a house of Shem, not a house of Abraham or down here along, back there as a house of Shem. If we say, okay, let's gather Semitic people together. I've seen it sometimes when you read, you hear that Egypt is counted as a Semitic country, and you wonder, like, but according to scripture, unless if this biblical thing really, let's just scrap it off, it's a lie. It's just maybe something they are using to control us. Because in the Bible, Egypt is the second born of Africa, and Africa is Ham. How then do you turn around and you say Egypt is a Semitic, they are a Semitic people? They can't be Semitic, they are Hamitic. Hamitic. Those Shemitic, Japhetic, they are just coming from the names of the ancestors. Like Europeans will say, okay, they are Japhetic because they are sons of Japheth. And then Africans, you say they are Hamitic because they are what? They're sons of Ham. You say those people, the Indians, you say they are Semitic because they're sons of Ham. But you read again, you hear people saying that the people of Iran, they are also Semitic, and you ask yourself, but how? Why is everyone trying so hard to squeeze it into the house of Shem, when even people that don't belong in the house of Shem, everyone wants to be a son of Shem? Like, I don't know. Is it because of the stories of how God, like the famous God of the Bible that we read about, who made which was Israel, and how he did marvelous thing and wondrous things. Maybe everyone wants to be an Israelite and really be there, you understand? But according to scripture, when you read scripture tells you clearly and blatantly that no, you daughters of Jerusalem, I am black, but I'm comely. Meaning, in other words, ngimnyama kodwa ngimuhle. You understand? And it makes sense for a Negro, excuse my language, a Negro, but it's not an offense, because when you say Negro, it's a Portuguese word which just means like black. You understand? When you say if you say we mustn't say Negro, then you should also tell us not to say black. Then you understand? So you can't allow us to call you black, and then you say when you call you Negro, you catch feelings. You understand? It's the same thing. It's just a different language, English and Portuguese, right? So a person like a person of, like, for example, a person who's Zulu. I'll be using Zulu people because they're famous, and I'm around those people. You understand? I'm around that. I'm in Southern Africa, where they are dominant. The Nguni are dominant in Southern Africa. So if you look at the Zulu person, you will expect them to be black, not Sudanese black, but like black. You understand? Muntu omnyama. That's the proper color. That's not this one that most of us are today. Like, most of us are light skinned, but that light skin it's something that it's a Canaanite thing. Remember that as Israelites, we also have a Canaanite thing in us. And also in South Africa, I live in South Africa Like I have Khoi blood in me. Khoi blood, I do have it. As a descendant of the Ngunis, I have Khoi blood in me, you understand? So, and Khois, they are attached to who? They are attached to Canaan, sons of Canaan. And Canaan's wife was a European woman, a Thracian woman. And Europeans are a light-skinned people. So that gene, even if you look at Khoi, you can see that, no, they are not 100% black. Because Zulu person, an authentic Zulu, authentic, and the Khoi, a Zulu is supposed to be darker than a Khoi person, because Khoi people from Fantuka, from long back in history, they've always carried, they were born by a European woman and an African man. That is Canaan, the last born son of Ham. That's why when you look at the Lebanese people, they look like they are white, but they are not white. That's why you see in West Asia, that is what they call the Middle East. You see those people, that color, you see the color they have. They are not white people, they're also not black people. But it is impossible for us to have that on its own. For us to have a people that look like that, there has got to be a mixing between what? A brown or a dark-skinned person and a white person from Europe. Then we can produce that color. So we have to come to terms with this information to say that our ancestries are not as we are told. Like today, we are counted as Africans. Yeah, we are Africans. Yes, we do relate very much with African people. By the way, the people of Sudan and the people of Ethiopia and the people of Egypt, we owe them our existence. Without these people, there wouldn't be anyone called Bantu. Because these women from these three countries, they are the ones. That's why when you are a Shona person, you look at yourself. When you are a Yoruba person, you look at yourself. When you are a Luya, you look at yourself, you can see that, man, you know what? I'm not very far from those Ethiopian people, man. There is that thing. There is that thing. But when you're a Congolese person, you look at yourself. When you're a Zulu, when you're a Xhosa, you look at yourself, you can trace your way all the way back up until you get back to the Igbos. That's why when you look at an Igbo woman, you look at an Igbo woman, you look at a Zulu woman, you look at them, you see that there is that thing, you understand? And then these other ones, we've got an East African thing, like people from Mozambique, going up to Tanzania, going all the way up the coast on the Indian Ocean up until you get to Ethiopia. You can see that, yeah, no, there is something, we have something, you understand? And you look at the Ngunis, they are more West Africa inclined. You understand? So we can't ignore these things and act like we are not seeing. When scripture is telling us clearly that, hey, this is Iba married to the daughter of Nimrod. Therefore, if Iba married the daughter of Nimrod, Iba, who is going to become the great ancestor of Abraham, it means that the daughter of Nimrod, her womb contributed up until it got to Abraham. And Abraham himself, you read about him, you hear that Abraham married Cushite women and an Egyptian. He had a son with Hagar, who was an Egyptian, and he also married Keturah, who was a Cushite. Takes us back to the issue of Egypt and Sudan again, you understand? And then you go on, you hear that Judah married a Canaanite woman. Okay, a Canaanite woman. Now we're introducing the light skin now. Remember that Canaanites, they are born of Africa, an African man, and what? A European woman. So obviously Canaanites, you'll expect them. Lebanese are right. They are very right in their color. The Chinese, I think maybe because of East Asia, those cold climates, maybe that's how they evolved to have that pale tone. But if you have the Lebanese then in West Asia, you'll see that, yeah, this is the look that we expect between. And then Israelites again came and they lived in the land of Canaan, remember? And they had to drive away the Canaanites from the land so that but for a while they lived together. You read about Abraham sometime that he traveled down to Canaan. It was there was a famine. And then Abraham had to go down to Canaan. And you read about all these things, you pick up the hints that, okay, so it means in other words that it is expected to find like that light tone like that. It's expected. And again, remember, the Canaanites didn't die out and finish. They're still alive. We have got the Khoi. They're here. We are still marrying them. That's why you find the Xhosa people, especially we find the women, they're so light-skinned. The Zulu as well, amongst the Swatis like that. But if you check the vendors, they're much darker because there's not much mixing of the Khoi with the Venda and the Tsonga because of where they live. There's not much of Canaanites. They are living down south, westwards. That's where you find them. You understand? So whoever gets to settle them with them there, they'll be affected by that because they'll be mixing, going to marry your women. They're going to marry our sons. Now, so abantwana bafana nathi nani. You understand? So if you see a very dark Zulu, a dark Zulu person, a dark Xhosa person, you must know that they have not been they are not mixed. They are still maintaining their proper West African and East African look. You understand? Like the Ethiopians, ne? They we owe them our existence because without them, who